Hello YouTube, this is Cover 2 Credits, and today we are rocking Stephen King's The Dark Tower.
Now, one thing I will say is what I've doing research with this, I haven't read any of the Dark Tower novels. They've said they've taken parts of a couple different Dark Tower novels and kind of meshed them into one movie. So that was one complaint people had. We'll get to that stuff later on, but right now, let's continue with plot. Okay? Correct if I'm wrong, or add anything you want to there, Kevin. Lucas, the main character, the boy you see in the trailers, is having nightmares, and they're vivid enough that he can wake up and draw what he sees. Basically, he's seeing three things. A man in black, a tower reaching from the ground to the sky that's dark, and a man in almost Western garb with a pistol he calls the gunslinger. Other than that, he's not seeing really anything that is vivid enough to make any sense of everything. And he draws these and believes that something's going on with him enough that his mother and kind of deadbeat stepfather think he's crazy. We kind of hit the ground running from there. You get a little bit of backstory with him in school, and then it's him and a psychiatrist. I never get that right. But, and then we kind of fall into where he sees this house and finds a portal, and we hit the ground running. He meets the gunslinger and continue. So, while this is going on, the man in black is trying to destroy the tower, which would unleash hell, pretty much, is how they explained it, on Earth and basically all of the other worlds. They kind of explain it as the tower is the center of a wheel, like a spoked wheel, and it holds everything evil at bay for all of the universes, not just Earth, all of them, and they sound like there are thousands and thousands of them. One thing, okay, what do you have to say after that, Kevin? How about that? Anything else you think to add that was pertinent?
Oh, the real world's also sort of falling apart with earthquakes all the time.
As we find out, the Man in Black has this machine using children's minds that fires a beam and attacks the Dark Tower. As this is happening, there have been earthquakes in our world that have been getting progressively worse and felt all over the planet. No one really knows why. It's kind of confusing. No one understands. And Lucas figures that it has to do something with what's going on, because he's dreaming about the tower being attacked, wakes up to an earthquake in New York City. Feels that there's some kind of connection. Obviously there is. What did you think of the kid playing Lucas? I believe his name is... I'm cheating, looking at IMDb right here.
I think he did a pretty decent job.
I thought he was very good. Nicholas Hamilton. I thought he did very, very good. Not necessarily a few... It wasn't like a terribly difficult part, I would think, but I thought he played it very, very well. We'll move to Idris Elba as the gunslinger. What did you think of him? My thought was, realistically, he wasn't given a lot to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing the extremely stereotypical kind of gruff, old, curmudgeonly sort of, like...
Old soldier.
Yeah, like, he's playing the old soldier. The old soldier trope. And, I mean, it's one of those that's been done and done and done, and all the silence and the gruff words and all of that stuff, and it's...
The get off my lawn.
It's a part that's played a lot.
Agreed.
And, like I said, they really just didn't give him a lot to work with.
They gave him...
all of the parts that were supposed to be, like, serious and epic, like, with his lines just were so cheesy. And
I don't necessarily think that was him. I think a lot of that was the script.
Oh, no, it's not his fault. I mean, you can only, as an actor, you can only work with what you're given.
Now, I will disagree about one other thing. The Man in Black. I feel like, yes, his script and what the writing might not have been, like, great. But I feel like McConaughey has such a problem with you seeing McConaughey in every single part that he does. Whether he always gets that little all right kind of mentality and everything. This part for the Man in Black had no emotion, good or evil. He was just blank the entire time. He would make random jokes in the movie, like to Idris Elba's character or anything else, and it was like, it felt weird to me. It felt like there was no emotion at all. And I mean, he's trying to bring hell to earth. He's trying, and in part of this, succeeding. And so it's like, I just felt it was weird there was no emotion at all. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I would sort of disagree, I think.
Okay.
So, I mean, he's playing a character, to me, that's a sociopath.
Very much so.
So, I mean, his lines are all over the place, but you can tell that he doesn't actually feel any of that emotion. Like,
yeah.
And to me, I think he does a good job with that. He comes off of that sort of creepy detachment to where he just does whatever he wants, and he doesn't care either way, because nothing means anything to him. And I thought he did a decent job with the part.
I mean, it wasn't like it was terrible. It just kind of, I guess the fact that the Man in Black has no emotion in theory is kind of more of a qualm than anything else. Something else somebody said, when he has powers kind of like the Purple Man from Jessica Jones, a lot of powers of persuasion, that kind of thing. There was a little bit of comparison between the two, Greyjoy and I think it's Greyjoy and Walter, if you will. What do you think of that? I thought the landscapes were cool. Seeing the world of the Dark Tower was interesting. Now,
yeah, I mean, they're getting it's.
Go ahead.
The movie, I mean, special effects and the videography of Hollywood has gotten to a point to where there's been very few movies the last few years that I would say were done badly in terms of special effects.
Agreed.
You just haven't seen. I haven't seen it in years with bad special effects.
No.
And I haven't seen it in years with bad visuals. I mean, every single movie just looks so beautiful now to me.
Now,
maybe that's because I just turned 30 and I'm getting old, but that's how I feel.
No, I would agree though, because it's
all
like
the special effects just look incredible. And this
the technology's gotten there.
And like I said, yeah, the technology, like computer generated stuff now looks photorealistic. It really does. And I mean, you can kind of tell, and in 5 years from now, you're not going to be able to tell at all, honestly.
Yeah, look up the Uncanny Valley and look at some of the stuff that you're finding when you look up that stuff. Now, the only thing I will say about the landscapes, would you agree the world of the Dark Tower is a very interesting universe?
Yes.
But we got none of it in this movie. They show you things, whether it's the people, whether it's the skinwalkers that wear like human skin, and then they go into none of it. They don't explain anything. There's no kind of exposition at all with why people are doing the things they're doing, other than the fact of why Idris Elba's character is hunting Walter. You understand that because you see a thing with the Idris Elba's character and his father, but it just felt like, other than Walter, you know why he's doing what he's doing. But they really didn't explain anything else.
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, and we'll do our rating after this because we're sort of getting a little long here.
That's fine. And I got one other thing I want to talk about. Continue.
To me, the main problem with this movie is that in order to take a story and move it across media, right? Especially if you're going to go from a book to a movie, you've got to sort of mainstream it, and you take sort of this story that you've got and you sort of sand off all the rough edges. And you sort of Hollywoodify the story. And you see this you take a story like Fight Club, and the movie Fight Club did an excellent job of taking what is a really screwed up book and turning it into a really screwed up movie by, you take a little off the top, you condense the story, you pull out the main parts of it, and you turn it into something that matches the tone and the quality of the original IP. Taking it from.
Yes.
And in what they did here was they just took a belt sander to the story and they just ground it down until it was a flat piece of wood.
I also think the studio had no faith in them making this movie for the fact of two things. One, I haven't been to any movie in a while that's 90 minutes. Like, if this movie was 2 hours and they did a little bit of explaining a few things or gave somebody a little bit more, maybe this is a much better movie. But I felt like 90 minutes was way too short for this, and you can tell they weren't worried about it when they didn't let any critics see this movie till the day before release, which is a huge red flag. If they're hiding it till right before it comes out, they have no faith in their own movie. Would you agree with that?
I don't know if I would agree with that 100%. But
that's exactly what they do, though. Like, because there are people that have already seen movies that are coming out way in advance, other than just, and some critics have seen movies that are coming out way in advance. At least a week, if not, and then some 2 weeks, and it's like, that's a normal thing. Like, the next big blockbuster, like, I don't know what's coming out soon. Well, It's coming out soon. It's a horror movie, another Stephen King movie. But they are sure as hell not going to hold it till the day before release for critics to get their reviews out before people start going to see the movie. Like, the more word of mouth you can get that's positive farther ahead of time, the more people that are going to go see it. That's the reason that I say that, like, if they're hiding it, of course they're hiding it because there's no bad word of mouth then. And when you go and look at Rotten Tomatoes and see that it has an 18% and the average rating for critics is a 4.1 out of 126 reviews, and you look at Metacritic and it's at a 35, like, they probably were hiding the bad word of mouth. Like, that's probably not that bad of a farce. Okay, what's your rating?
5, 6.
Yeah, I was gonna give it a 6. One thing I will say that was very cool. So Kevin had some technical issues with his camera, so he had to cut out real quick. But he got his rating in. The last thing I want to talk about was one thing I didn't realize until seeing this movie and doing a little more research is in all of the Stephen King books, they all are considered in the same universe. So, like, even though the Dark Tower itself is in a different universe than, like, Earth, all of the things that's going on in all of the books can reference each other if they want to. Well, in this, you see a bunch of references. I don't know if Kevin saw these or not. I'll have to ask them about them next time. But when they're at the psychologist's office, it turns and there's a picture of the Stanley Hotel on his desk from The Shining. You see a kid playing with a little red car that's the same car from Christine. They focus on a lady walking a St. Bernard across the street. Cujo was also a St. Bernard. Those are just the 3 that I remember off the top of my head. I know 1408 was one of the codes they used. 1408 is obviously the name of a book. There's a bunch of them in this movie, and my wonder was, and I made this joke to somebody else who saw it. I said, did they take the time to make too many Stephen King references and stop writing? Because I don't know. Either way, let us know what you guys think about this movie. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. All the credits. I put stuff up on Instagram and Facebook when I see stuff that's kind of interesting. It's a little bit of a lull right now since San Diego Comic-Con was last week. And yeah, if you guys see this movie, let us know what you guys think. If there's anything coming out soon you want us to see, let us know. There's going to be some hit and miss with movies. And until next time, thanks for staying until after the credits.